All right. So is everybody here last time?
No, I was.
You weren't? All right, cool. So I'll do a bit of intro again. My name is Dr. Gregory D'Amato. I live in Puerto Viejo. We lived there about 4 years. So I got into a lot of research about 10 years ago when we were having our first child. We sort of looked at like, well, what do we need to do for this baby? What do we need to feed him? All these kinds of things. So we started looking deep into research on vaccines, circumcision, organic food. So we had a slow, or actually it was a pretty quick progression in the first year from going, vegetarian to vegan, eventually raw, and then 100% raw for years kind of thing. So it was this progression of the more knowledge that we had, the more deeper we dug, and the more we started integrating more and more and more. So even what you'll learn today, I've learned so much. Delving into basically the pineal gland is what we'll be looking at today. We'll be looking at digestive health, spirituality as well, from the ways in which everything is shut down from a physical standpoint, from the food, from the water, and from the air. So we're going to talk a lot about pineal gland calcification and foods that decalcify pineal gland and how we can start to really open that up. Okay. Then we'll get into a bit of happy high foods. What are the foods that are going to start making the tryptamines, the serotonins kind of thing, the dimethyltryptamine, the DMT, all these kinds of things will make us happy and high. And you'll see it's one of the big reasons that everyone is really sad, really depressed, just lost spiritually. Our whole pineal gland has been completely shut down. So we're going to do a lot of pineal gland stuff. The research on it is pretty amazing. There's 3 big contributors to it that we'll write up here today, and we'll bring all the other sort of precursors to that as well. So introing the pineal gland. Pineal gland is called the third eye. It's called the epiphysis. It looks like a womb. So it's the housing for the soul, essentially. Descartes called it the seat of the soul. So it's where all of our integrative knowledge comes into. It's where your emotional intelligence comes from. It's where all of our ability to have our psychicness, our ESP, our ability to read people, our empathy comes from. So if you start shutting that down, we become disconnected as individuals and as a society as well. So our love for each other comes from our pineal gland. That's our spiritual center. That's the housing of the soul. So there's 3 main ways we'll get into today that it's basically shut down. Okay. So it's this sort of triangle that we have. We have the big one at the top here. We'll see if you guys can guess. I'm sure you guys know at least one of them. So what's the big calcifier of the pineal gland? Fluoride, yes, good work. So fluoride is the main calcifier of the pineal gland. So fluoride is a known neurotoxin. Harvard released a study about 1.5 years ago linking high levels of fluoride in water to decreased IQ in children. So it's one of the biggest social experiments that's ever been run on humans. It's over 40 years now, and it's designed to make us complacent. Okay, so fluoride basically attacks the pineal gland, shuts us off spiritually. We'll be getting into a lot of that. But what it also does, it fragments our DNA. So our DNA is supposed to be, it's a double helix. Okay, they're having triple helix kids now born, which is an awesome upgrade. But the double helix strand is 528 hertz. So that's known as the Fibonacci frequency. 528 hertz is the love frequency. So literally we are made of love, okay? So what it starts to do, it starts attacking our DNA and our ability to repair our DNA, okay? So if we have fluoride in our body, our ability to repair stops, essentially. So we can't start to recover from illness, injury, infection, inflammation, gut health. All that stuff is our DNA automatic repair. It's being blocked, okay? The program is being interrupted. It's like throwing sand in your gas tank, Eventually it's going to start causing some issues. So the DNA fragmentation is a big issue. It blocks the use of our enzymes. Okay, we talked a bit about enzymes last time. So enzymes are needed for every single process in the body. Every time you blink your eyes, every time you think, every time you get up, every muscle movement, tears, you name it. So we have 37 trillion cells in the body. Each cell has a minimum of 4,000 enzymes. Each one of these enzymes are like little cars, okay? you have to activate them with the minerals. We talk about electrolytes that are activating these enzymes, okay? So what happens is you get the activation happening, and then fluoride, boom, traffic jam. Everything stops, okay? So we're not able to utilize our enzymes. So our enzymes are needed for every single process, 5 minutes, okay? That's the love, that's the non-blockage, that's not holding on to resentment, that's keeping that frequency of 528 hertz. That's having high levels of dimethyltryptamine, which is a spirit molecule. All that's produced in the pineal gland. So when it starts to shrink, we start to see all these other issues. We see the opposite of children. You know, we see grumpiness, moodiness, the hell with everybody, you know, greediness. You know, that's an adult thing, you know. So it's, the kids love to share. You know, I have a 22-month-old, and anytime you give him anything, he'll demand it for everyone else in the room. Demands it instantly. Not for mama. I'm like, come on, he's got to hold everything. He's like, gives it to everybody. You know, so sharing it's an innate thing. We're born with that. It's that love frequency. It's making sure everyone is fed, making sure everyone's happy. So all that comes from the pineal gland. So when it starts to get gummed up, we see the opposite of all these different things. So we're going to look at number 2, and then we'll get into fluoride and how it affects and all the different foods and ways in which fluoride is hidden in the environment. So we have the 3 basic ways we're taking in these 3 substances. This is what we'll get into. So we got air, food, and water. So all of these substances that you'll see that are calcifying the pineal gland they're ubiquitous. You know, they're everywhere. We can't not have them. We're breathing them in. They're in the water. No matter how well you filter, you're not filtering everything out, okay? And they're in the food. No matter how organic your food is. You get organic lettuce, they found 180 times more fluoride in organic lettuce than is found in tap water. How is that possible? Well, they're spraying it with tap water, or you know, they're the fields, you know. So, and also pesticides have a lot of fluoride in as well. So anytime you're having non-organic raisins, it's loaded with pesticides that are laced with fluoride. 20% of medication, all medication has fluoride in it. 50% of antidepressants are fluoride, sodium fluoride. So it numbs us out. So if we're feeling sad, happy, depressed, angry, whatever we're feeling, that's our spirit saying something is wrong in our life. What the SSRIs do is they say, boop, nothing's wrong, switch it right off. Okay. So when you do that long term, you create basically people that aren't able to think for themselves. They just do. They don't know why they're here. What is my spiritual purpose? What makes me happy? Well, I don't know. I've never thought about it. So all that is a pineal gland. That's the seat of the soul. That's how we see into people. So you'll notice as people get more clean, which we're going to talk a lot about that, you can see their soul, literally in their eyes. That glimmering eyes, that clear eyes, that's the soul. That's the pineal gland that's been decalcified. That's what we see in children, okay? When we start to gum up everything, we start to lose that, okay? We start to say, who cares? Yeah, I'll get a job, win some money, whatever. You know, we don't actually think of what do you want to do. A child's going to tell you instantly what he wants to do. And if you don't give it to him, he's going to cry and scream and yell. He wears his emotions or her emotions. So they're going to tell you exactly what they want. They're authentic. So our emotional authenticity comes from the pineal gland as well. So all these tryptamines, the happiness hormones, the melatonin and serotonin are the ones that are produced in the pineal gland. So our circadian rhythm, a lot of our immune system, all that is produced in the pineal gland. So our ability to love each other, get rid of viruses, pathogens, sleep deep, and wake up charged. If our pineal gland's calcified, we're not sleeping deep at all. We're sleeping a little bit. So we're never fully charged. Our system is low. You know, put your iPhone in, take it out. Do that all night. It's going to drive you nuts. The phone's still got no charge, and you've wasted all that time. So a lot of that comes from the pineal gland. That's what regulates most of our melatonin. And a lot of our melatonin comes from tryptophan. Tryptophan produces tryptamines, which is our serotonin. And that produces our dimethyltryptamine, so DMT. So air, food, water, we're going to talk about where we're getting all these substances. Anyone have a guess on number 2? The calcifier of the pineal gland. Think of the ubiquity, pervasiveness, vocabulary words. Present and existing everywhere.
Like electronic things?
Not electronic. It would definitely be affecting it.
TV or something?
No, it's another substance that's like that. Turn on your shower, what comes out?
Alright.
What else? Not here though. So I'm told. Chlorine. So chlorine, these guys have a synergistic effect. So if you have fluoride in the body, you're going to suck chlorine, okay? Once you have chlorine, you're then going to suck, number 3, anyone guess? Mercury. Given to pregnant women and vaccines, put in your teeth. Found in water, found in fish, found in air, everywhere. So you see, these 3 substances are very difficult to avoid. So you see what it's basically doing to us as a species. We're not really there anymore. So it takes the pineal gland, you know, if you have your eye, take some spray paint, right on top, boop, can't see. So most people, when they're 50, about 80% of their pineal gland is calcified. There's not much left. And it shrinks to 1/4 or 1/5 of its size. So what happens is our spirituality is gone. Our ability to be human, our ability to feel, to have empathy, which is a big one I see when people get older. It's like, yeah, it's all just about me. Like, what? Really? What? No, this person, too bad. What do you mean? Too much fluoride in the water, too much chlorine. Yeah. Get the shower filled in. So all these 3 substances, there's a lot of different sources for all these, from the air, the food, the water. So the biggest source of fluoride is the water. You guys don't have fluoridated water here, as I'm told. Maybe you do. But that's the biggest source in the world. And where does fluoride come from? The fluoride they put in the water. Does anyone know? So if you have something that's really, really karmic derived, you know it's going to be causing problems, you know. So it's a byproduct of making nuclear weapons, okay. So a lot of these substances, fluoride also, they create it from steel manufacturing, making byproducts of cement, aluminum, all this stuff. They have this fluoride, they don't know what to do with it. And each big barrel that they have costs $500 to get rid of it safely. So they said, well, let's put it in the water. It must be good for your teeth. It's not. So it's linked to 25% increase in tumor growth. It causes dental fluorosis. So since the water, you know, you can see that the counties and things that do more water fluoridation have modeling of the teeth, little holes in it. It's dental fluorosis. It's linked to osteosarcoma. It's one of the biggest causes of thyroid cancer as well. So all these things we're taking in. It's found in toothpaste. The FDA in the 80s said, well, if you're going to put fluoride in toothpaste, you have to put a warning on it. Okay, if a kid eats that tub of toothpaste, he's dead. You die of fluoride toxicity. So they have to give you a warning saying if you ingest more than a little tea size of this toothpaste, if you eat it, call the poison center immediately. So it's on every single one of those things. So it's pretty ubiquitous and different. It's everywhere, you know. So here it's in the salt. You know, you see the fluor. You know, yeah, nice, thanks guys. Take your salt and go to work, go back home, fun TV. So yeah, making a list and seeing things like what is fluoride in. You know, making sure there's no fluoride in the toothpaste. That's a big one. It's one of the biggest frauds ever. The American Dental Association started all that, and there's no studies to even prove it benefits teeth in any way. You know, it's a known toxin. It's a neurotoxin. It lowers IQ. It does so many different things. But what we're talking about today is it calcifies the pineal gland. So when you look, we can actually take a look at some pictures later, where a regular pineal gland looks amazing, and the rest it's like half black. It's just, and that's what you get the calcification. So when fluoride starts hitting it, it becomes a magnet for mercury. So mercury fillings are going to be leaching. Okay, if anyone's got mercury fillings, that's another one you want to get out if you're ever going to really open up that pineal gland. Okay, because it makes your pineal gland a sponge essentially for mercury. Okay, so mercury fillings, every time you brush your teeth, you're off-gassing mercury. Every time you're chewing, eating foods, you're off-gassing vapors of mercury. There's a great documentary called The Beautiful Truth, which is the only guys to actually prove it. You can get that online pretty much everywhere. YouTube, it's all free. It's a full documentary. It gets into all kinds of stuff. But they used a special curtain in the back, and they had a special light as well, and they took old teeth and they put a toothbrush on them, and they could see the vapor rising. But you needed a special light to actually catch the mercury vapor, and you needed another curtain in the back to sort of see it. And they showed it on film for the first time, mercury vapor, from brushing teeth, from eating, all kinds of other stuff. So mercury fillings definitely want to go. You got to wonder why they're putting mercury in fillings anyway. You know, it's the second most toxic substance to humans next to uranium. So it serves the same sort of agenda that's shutting us down. Why is there 25 micrograms of mercury in vaccines? All childhood vaccines had mercury, Now they're just giving more vaccines. They've cut a lot of mercury out, but they're still in the flu vaccine and a couple other ones as well. So if you've ever had childhood vaccines, pineal gland gets it as well. So mercury is concentrated in fish as well. So 80% of the mercury in the planet today is coming from coal-powered plants. So the burning of coal to make energy. Okay, that goes up in the clouds, carries around, it rains, it hits the oceans, and the fish concentrate all these toxins. Okay, so fish are the filters of the ocean. So the fish have between 7,000 and 9 million times more PCBs than the ocean itself. And the bigger and longer they're in the ocean, the salmon, the tuna, they're concentrating massive mercury. All sharks and all whales now are dying of mercury toxicity and all these other things because the oceans are so burdened with all these things. So we're going to take the brunt of it as well, okay? So all these things, with the environment being so toxic, we have to say, well, how do we get rid of them, okay? Which we'll get into. But the point of all this is we're taking on all these things. We've all had mercury fillings, we've all had vaccines, most of us. We've all had fish in our lives, most of us as well, or we still consume that. So we have to start chelating these things out. We have to start getting rid of them because a lot of them, when you start having a bit of fluoride, it starts to suck all the mercury, okay? And then it starts to suck the chlorine. Calcium supplements are another big one. If we had a number 4, we'd put calcium up there. So synthetic calcium supplements allow more fluoride to be deposited in. So one of the biggest causes of disease, which we'll probably do another lecture, is called nanobacteria, which is calcification. And it causes pretty much every disease out there. They found it in heart disease patients, everything else. But it has a calcified coating on the outside of it. It grows very, very slow. And it's got a small bacteria inside it, okay? So this nanobacteria causes all kinds of other stuff we won't get into today. Really difficult osteoarthritis, all these different things. But what we're doing is we're helping them out by taking calcium supplements, by drinking milk that has synthetic calcium in it. Calcium supplements are basically inorganic, non-bioavailable sources of calcium, meaning they're ground up oyster shells. So they grind up these shells, they grind up coral, and they say, here's your calcium. Great. What can you do with it? Nothing. So what happens is it lines your arteries. After that, so heart attacks and strokes are linked to taking calcium supplements because you can't use it. So that's another one that concentrates fluoride, and calcium is put in all granola, all cereals, which is another big source of fluoride, as well as grains, because they're all fed, fluoridated water from the US, all the wheat as well. So yeah, calcium supplements, definitely don't want to take those. You can get broccoli, juicing broccoli, you get a massive amount of calcium in broccoli. Chia seeds is a great source of calcium. Kale as well. You always want whole food sources of calcium. What the plants are doing is they're taking all these different energies in the atmosphere and they're concentrating them down into their fiber. And what we do is we just eat them. It's as simple as that. We don't have to go out and mine calcium and grind it up and eat it. So it lines our arteries as a temporary holding spot. And then basically it's going to be hitting the bones. So osteoarthritis is everyone taking milk and excess calcium supplements and things like that. It also hits the pineal gland and causes a little coating on the pineal gland, which stops our whole psychicness. It shuts us off. And what the big thing pineal gland calcification does is we have an inability to recognize the truth, which is huge. I think that's one of the biggest issues we see on the planet today, is if you present someone with the truth and they don't recognize it as the truth, they can't do anything. So if you say, well, someone's getting chemo, well, chemo does this, here's the real truth, and they completely reject it, they're out in 1 month to 2 months to 3 months max, You have to look at it and say, well, that does make sense. I've created this. I need to now do it. No one else can poison me. Why would my body, all these different things, these questions, but it sparks that, that makes sense. So our emotional intelligence, which is our guidance system, if we're really open with the pineal gland, we're opening doors with our mind, essentially, the doors, and we're just walking through them. We're creating what we want, and we're living sort of a magic lifestyle. If we're not, we're kicking indoors. We're saying, oh, this just doesn't work, but I'm going to make it work. We're not looking at the door that's open over there. So you see a lot of that in 50, 60-year-olds, at least I do all the time. They're not just conscious, they're not just aware of what's sort of happening. So a lot of that happens in the pineal gland, and you'll see they have like 8 or 10 different mercury fillings. They don't need a shower filter, that's just crazy, you know. So they're getting all the chlorine, all the fluoride, and then they're eating it in all the foods and showering. It's just, yeah, it's crazy. So, but that's the issue. You can't recognize the truth of fluoride, chlorine, pineal gland if you have that already on you. It's very difficult. So all you guys here would definitely be recognizing that, which is good, and starting to clean it. So chlorine is pretty much in everything as well. So it's in the water, obviously. Chlorine is in the halogen family, which is also fluoride. Okay, so there's a halide family or a halogen family, and fluoride is in it. So we have fluoride, chlorine, or chloride. Chlorine is an oxidized form of chloride, meaning they've stolen basically an ion from it. So it has a positive charge. So it likes to just steal electrons from you, puts holes in DNA, all kinds of it. So it kills everything essentially. So it kills all the bacteria, all the good bacteria too. So it really strips out your probiotics, which we'll get into later, and how to rebuild that pineal gland. So chlorine, yes, in the water. It's in a lot of food products as well because they're using the chlorinated water to feed their crops, you know, meat, dairy, all this kinds of stuff. You're going to find lots of chlorine in it. So it becomes a bioaccumulation. It comes from having it from every single day, you know. Your body can get rid of it. But if someone's, you know, at my house, the kids are dumping stuff on the floor as fast as you can clean it. You know, it's the same thing with chlorine. If you're taking it every day, you can't actually clean it out. Okay, so the first step for all this stuff is really paying attention to the sources that we'll go into a bit more, and changing them. Take nothing with fluoride, nothing with chlorine. So step 1 is organic food. I mean, that's super, super important, you know. Food has to be clean. Even wine. Red wine, white wine as well will concentrate pesticide, which is mainly fluoride derived, okay. So if we're having those things every week, you're going to be getting a massive amount of fluoride. You know, the pineal gland's going to start to calcify, okay, and then it's going to start attracting all the mercury that's been in the body, that's still in the body, you know. We talked a bit about detoxing last time in the glutathione channel. Glutathione is the main way we detox, okay. So a lot of the ways we're going to get rid of this and get rid of anything is detoxification, okay. So we talked about MSM. MSM is super, super important now because it's a precursor to cysteine. Cysteine grabs glutamic acid and glycine and makes glutathione. So that's our main detox nutrient. So glutathione is like a big hook, okay? So we want to have it stacked in our body. Glutathione is essentially the garbage bags of the body. So if we run out, we have nowhere to put our trash. We can put it in piles and it goes there, put it in piles there. That's the lymphatic system that gets clogged because the floor, which is our blood, we push things in different places. We're waiting for someone to take in more sulfur, to take in more cysteine, you know, to get the parts we need to make those garbage bags to get rid of it, okay? So a lot of, you know, the issues we see today is from just an overburdened sort of toxic world that we're living in, because we're exposed to about 100,000 environmental pollutants. These are just 3 of them, okay? So what happens is when we start to stack the garbage bags, it doesn't matter what's in the house, it's automatically removed, okay? So detoxing, you know, the first step is food is medicine. You know, what are the biggest sources of sulfur? Sulfur is going to make cysteine. Cysteine is going to make glutathione. Okay, so those are your garbage bags. So let's get some more plastic, or let's get some corn. Get something that can make our garbage bag. Something that we can always be detoxing. So whenever it comes in, it's going out. When you look at all research on toxicology, it's only after having a chemical in your body for 60 to 90 days that it's going to start having an adverse effect. So your body can get rid of it, it can store it, it can temporarily push in the lymphatic system. Long term, it's going to put it in the fat tissue as well. So that's a long-term sort of holding place. This is why everyone's got, you know, in America, all the toxicity there, it's all held in their fat. You know, it's all, the big belly is the lymphatic system. 80% is in here. That's the vacuum cleaner bag of the body, okay? So we're cleaning, 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 and there's nowhere to put it, okay? So again, we don't have the glutathione to get rid of it. We're deficient in selenium. Selenium, there's 11 enzymes in selenium that make glutathione peroxidase, which is the enzyme that recycles our glutathione, you know? So we can bring it back in. So dump the garbage bag out, bring it back inside. We can keep cleaning with that same bag. So that's really important. Selenium is a really big one. Brazil nuts, biggest source of selenium. Taking those every day. So we'll touch a bit on mercury, and then we'll start getting into the foods and how we actually decalcify the pineal gland and what sort of happens as well. So mercury, we talked a bit about vaccines, fish, pretty much everywhere. It's in the food, it's in the air, it's in the water. We talked a bit about Roundup last time, that 75% of air samples in the US were loaded with Roundup, 70% of water samples. So all these things are pretty much in everywhere. You know, they're being sprayed in chemtrails. No one really knows what's actually in them. They've tested them. There's at least 600 different live viruses coming down on us. There's aluminum, there's a bit of mercury, there's barium, there's all these kinds of things. So we're basically being showered in all this fun stuff. So we have to get ourselves into a state where we can just dump it out. Doesn't matter. Keep smiling the whole time. Pineal gland has a shield on it. So it's just dumping everything as it sort of comes on us. Okay. So the best way to get rid of it, we talked about MSM. MSM is definitely on top on the list because that's going to create your glutathione. That's methyl sulfonylmethane, MSM. So it's got a methyl group to it, and it's got a sulfur component. So it's about 99.9% sulfur. Okay, and MSM used to exist everywhere in the food. You know, what you'll sort of learn is everything we've gotten into now as a society is completely wrong. From food prep to soil to farming to breathing, through EMFs, through lack of grounding, I mean, pretty much everything. You can't really do it any worse than we've done so far, you know? So we're trying to get back to nature. So, you know, what you'll see is a deficiency of nature causes every single disease. And they have 43,000 different diseases. 43,000 different diseases that are all symptoms of deficiency of nature, which is an excess of chemicals and deficiency in nutrients and EMFs and all that kinds of stuff. So MSM, 99.9% sulfur. What MSM used to come in was the food. It's highly concentrated in aloe. Aloe vera should definitely be part of your routine, at least weekly. People with Crohn's and digestive issues that really want to do a detox of their gut, take in lots of aloe. You can do 1 to 2 leaves a day. You peel the outer skin off. Blend it in the smoothie, morning and night smoothies, have a nice salad. If you're not ready to do like a fast, you can just do that. That's pretty much how we eat all the time anyway. We do smoothie morning and dinner, and then just a salad and sprouts and all kinds of stuff for lunch. Just super easy. Liquid meals are awesome. Cooking is crazy for the most part. So getting back to real live food is really, really important. Aloe vera is awesome. Aloe vera, as you can see, it's like the pyramids, okay? So it concentrates all the ormus elements from the atmosphere down into its gel, all those polysaccharides. So it makes like a slippery mucus as well. So anything you eat, it's gonna get rid of all those calcified parasite nests that are hanging out in there, all the good stuff, all the animal proteins that are sitting in there. It makes everything slippery. So everything just goes, whoop. It's like a big laxative effect. So if you start doing that, you know, daily, we recommend at least 2-3 weeks, doing 1 or 2 a day, and then doing it a few times a week to maintain, you're gonna dump everything out. And it's going to clean you out good. It's going to feel like amazing, like really light, no more density here. So aloe's concentration concentrates MSM. So the only way we can get MSM in the food is rainwater. Okay, you can't have the chlorine, the fluoride, you can't have tap water. You have to get it from the rain. So aloe in the rain will concentrate it as well. It has to be a sulfur-based vegetable other than aloe. So broccoli will have it as well. So broccoli has to be raw to get MSM. Okay, you can't cook your aloe vera like fish and then eat it. You know, you lose your B12, your MSM, you lose everything in most heating of food. So what happens is we take MSM through that way. So if we have broccoli, if it's organically grown soil, if you get it conventional soil, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, NPK in the soil is going to displace all sulfur. So it doesn't matter if you put broccoli in there, it's not going to have enough sulfur. It's going to have a tiny little bit. So it has to be organically grown, has to be fed rainwater, has to be eaten raw. MSM is attached to a water molecule. So you can pretty much see why the majority of people are not getting any MSM. Okay? All the food is conventional, there's no more sulfur in the soil, and they're cooking it. I'm just going to steam it, they say. All right, whee, there goes the MSM, there goes your enzymes. So keeping the food in its original condition is really, really important. Live food is the top other way getting into raw food to detox pineal gland. Raw food also has DMT in it. This is why they tell us as humans to cook our food. DMT is pineal gland food, dimethyltryptamine, okay? That's the spirit molecule, that's our psychicness, that's our clarity. All of that stuff is in raw food, okay? So when we start to heat it, we lose the DMT, we lose the biophotons. Biophotons are small beams of light that come from the sun that are present from when you pick it for about 2 days. So a lot of times if we're getting food that's shipped from different places, even if we have it raw, it's in the grocery store, it's not going to have it. So growing own food is really, really important. Getting that, boom, cut it, eat it. I mean, you're so high, it's ridiculous. That's what all our kids did growing up. They just picked it, ate it, went in the garden, raided everything, ate it, ate the leaves, had 2 leaves of broccoli, and they were good. They were so charged they didn't need any food because it's so full of energy. Most of the food we have has about 8 to 10% energy left in it. If we cook it, it's even got less. Okay, we lose 40% just sitting in the grocery store alone. So the fresher the food, the better. Organic has to be an option, so you're getting all that sulfur. You're getting 10 times more minerals. It's not going to have all the massive chemicals that they use in organic, non-organic agriculture, the chlorine in the water, and all the other derivatives they can use. So raw food has all of the components that your body needs. It detoxes everything, okay, especially in the greens. The greens are green because they have chlorophyll. Okay, chlorophyll is one of the highest pHs of anything on the planet. You know, we're meant to be eating the greens. If we have brown foods and things like that, then we need to match it with green foods. If we don't, we're definitely going to be acidic. You know, acidic leads to adrenal burnout, leads to pain, leads to not sleeping, leads to hormonal issues, leads to grumpiness and mood swings and all these different things. When we're alkaline, we're super high, we're super light. We're like a plant, you know, plants are just straight love, you know. So raw food has all the stuff in it. We don't need to do anything to it. We just eat it. You know, when we start to change it, heat it, manipulate it, we lose the enzymes. So the enzymes are the encoding system, okay? So we start to lose the enzymes, our bodies has to use our metabolic enzymes. We talked a bit about this last time, and it has to recode those to digestive enzymes, amylase, protease, and lipase, to break down the food. So what happens is then we don't have our ability to do other tasks. We can't rebuild the liver, we can't get rid of stones, we can't create hydrochloric acid. We're always sort of reeling backwards trying to catch up because we're quickly using these parts to bail out the boat. You know, we can't actually build other things on it. So the metabolic enzymes are really, really important. When we run out of metabolic enzymes, that's pretty much the known cause of death or loss of vitality, which they've sort of done experimentally by giving cats, just feeding them soy, for instance, which is enzyme inhibitors. They fed them 100% soy. At the end of 7 days, every cat was gone because it blocked all of their enzymes, including the metabolic enzymes. So the more enzymes we can get, and we saw that fluoride basically makes your enzymes completely unusable. Your body doesn't know how to use them. It changes the shape and function, electromagnetism of them. So your body can't use the enzymes that you have. So it throws everything out of whack. Okay? So getting this stuff out is really important. So getting onto MSM is awesome because MSM is going to produce that cysteine. Cysteine is the precursor to glutathione. So that's our main way to just get everything out, whether it's fluoride, whether it's Roundup, whether it's lead, mercury, cadmium, heavy metal, you know, BPA, plastic chemicals, whatever it is. If you can stack your MSM, if you can stack your sulfur, if you can stack your cysteine, that's going to create glutathione. We can't supplement with glutathione. Our bodies just don't absorb it, okay? So we have to give the body what it needs to create the tools to do the specific job, which is detox. So detox is one of the biggest sort of causes of all this pineal gland calcification because we don't have the tools to get rid of it. If we don't have the tools to get rid of the garbage, it stays there. And then more comes, and then more comes, and then more comes. If we can start to bring it in, guess what? Woo, out it goes. And we didn't know what was over there hiding. Wow, look at this. It's an amazing book. Whatever we put all that crap on, so everything just starts to open. We get very, very enlightened when we start to eat live food. We start to supplement with MSM. So MSM, you want to make sure it's raw, really, really important, and you want to make sure it's plant-based. And even that, you got to make sure it's organic, because even the raw plant-based ones are corn-based, and they use genetically modified corn to extract MSM. The best source you can get is a pine bark MSM. Yes?
What about the powdered form?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just make sure it's a raw, plant-based, organic. Yeah, pine bark is like the best ever, but it's really, really hard to find. And you can see pine bark, pineal. Nice. Just thought of that now. Pretty cool. So yeah, raw food is really, really important. MSM is going to start to detox these things. So as these guys are in the halogen family, so we have fluoride in the halogen family, we have chlorine, we have bromine, which is used in bread. It's also used in pools. So bromine and chlorine stacked together with the fluoride causes such havoc on the body. What it does is it's going to displace all of your iodine. Okay, so iodine is needed for every single hormone cell in the body. Women's cycle is iodine. Hard cycles, irregular cycles, 90% of it is iodine deficiency. Okay? No one has sources of iodine. The dulse, the wakame, the bladderwrack, the algas, the sea vegetables. People aren't taking them in. You need to take them in every day. If your thyroid is fully saturated with iodine, you need it's got about 50 milligrams. Each day, the thyroid needs 6 milligrams alone of iodine. So at the end of the 8th day, you pretty much completely run out of iodine unless you put some in. So that's really, really important. And for women's health, it's ovarian health. It links to estrogen deficiency, progesterone deficiency, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone. So all on iodine. Okay. So fluoride is going to displace your iodine. It's going to bind to the receptor cells in your thyroid. Okay, in your ovaries, in your breast tissue, breast cancer, fibrocystic breast disease, lumps, it's all iodine deficiency from excess estrogen. It's trying to give you something else to work with because it doesn't have the right parts. Here's the key to the car. Doesn't really work, Whatever it can find that's similar. So detoxing that is really, really important. So iodine is another way, really, really top way to get rid of this fluoride, because what it's going to do, it's going to match it in frequency. So if we do a big dump of iodine, 50 milligrams a day at least, and you need a blend of potassium iodide, which has a molecule attached to it. It's a reduced form. Or you can do and then you need a regular iodine. So the body needs potassium iodide and iodine. Okay, you can do a nascent iodine. You could do like 10 drops morning, 10 drops at night. Big amounts. And what happens from the studies is they're showing a big urinary excretion of bromine, fluoride, chlorine, perchlorate, all these things that are in the halogen family. Whatever you have more of, it's going to dump the other ones out. Same with probiotics. You have good probiotics, you're taking a lot in, it dumps out the bad bacteria. You don't have any probiotics, all the bad bacteria take over. Just like in your house. You got 10 people there you don't want out, you come in, they're going to laugh at you, throw you out. You get 20 of your friends, now they're out, So whatever you have more of, so if you can get more of the good stuff in, it's going to push the bad stuff out. And these guys are all on the same electromagnetic frequency, they're on the same periodic weight in the table of elements as well. So taking high doses of iodine, really, really important. We need a potassium iodide. I use one called Iodoral, I-O-D-O-R-A-L, and it's a blend of iodine and potassium iodine. So it's the exact blend and number that these women are getting in Japan, and they show no fibrocystic breast disease. They don't show any issues of Hashimoto's, grave disease, any kind of thyroid issues, any breast issues, any hormonal, anything. They don't have any of that. It doesn't exist there because of their high intake of iodine, which is 100 times more than North American women. So if we can take that dose, and 12.5 milligrams is the dose that they got, which is in one tablet, 7.5 iodide, 5 of iodine. So we're taking 50, so it's 4 of those a day, okay, and that's for 90 days. At the end of 90 days, the average person has dumped out chlorine, all their fluoride, all their bromine, all their perchlorate, all the other halogens, the whole halide family has essentially been dumped out. So the pineal gland, that's one of the best ways to dump out that excess fluoride, okay, is big doses of iodine. So mercury, same kind of thing. All of these are going to work in tandem, getting live food, getting organic food, supplementing with iodine. So getting onto dulse, wakame, we talked about, bladderwrack, nori. You can just take nori sheets, put it in your salad, make sushi. Take your salad, put it in there. We make a nice raw ginger sauce with some organic sesame oil. And we put some like our sunflower seeds as well, which are the biggest source of cysteine, a bit of water, lots of garlic for sulfur as well, salt, peppercorns, ginger goes in there as well, and you blend all that up, and you have an amazing dipping sauce for your nori. And it's the best sushi ever. So just take your salad, chuck all that in there, sprouts in there as well, lots of avocado, which is amazing as well. All right, so some foods. Fully saturated yet? Good. All right, we'll keep going on. So So the air. So yeah, all these things are becoming so ubiquitous. They're pretty much everywhere that we have to start protecting ourselves. So the best way to detox, getting onto live food, juicing every day is really, really important. So any ways you can get the greens in, smoothies is the best way. We do a smoothie every morning. We put all these good things in it. Herbs are amazing. Gotu kola is one of the best herbs for decalcifying the pineal gland. It's one of the best herbs for memory as well. Gotu kola. See if I can spell it right. G-O-T kola. G-O-T-U-K-O-L-A. So this is the favorite food of the elephants. They graze on that all day and love it. Okay, it's the best herb known to man for memory. This is why elephants have known to have a great memory. So they love eating gotu kola. That basically dumps all this fluoride, all this excess inorganic calcium, all this mercury, methyl mercury, ethyl mercury, all different types of mercury, and the chlorine out of the pineal gland. So it's sort of this veil that starts to unlift, just doing a smoothie in the morning, supplementing with a bit of gotu kola. I don't know. I mean, I grow it. I don't know here. I just eat a little bit. They have it in nurseries, I believe, the viveros. And you can get it and put it in a pot, and it goes nuts in a pot. But yeah, you can make your own tinctures. You can do everything with it. Yeah, getting into herbs is awesome because they're wild, they're ormus rich, they provide everything. And they interact with you. They'll actually start downloading what you need, and they'll start to give you complete different stuff. And you can encode seeds as well, which is really, really cool. So if you're going to plant vegetables, you put it on your tongue for 9 minutes, and then put it in your hand for 30 seconds, give it love, and then plant it. Don't water it for 3 days. So the encoding of that seed is now going to grow everything you're deficient in. So selenium is more than the next person. The calcium, the potassium, everything that you need, the iodine, all of that's going to be loaded into that beet, the cabbage, whatever it is. It's amazing. So that's an old Vedic sort of culture. So some of the foods, just looking at some of the sulfur-rich foods that contain MSM, we talk about aloe vera is awesome, broccoli, anything in the mustard green family is really, really good. So the mustard greens, the kale, Brussels sprouts, getting into more garlic and onions is awesome. One of the best prebiotics that we know of is raw onions and raw garlic. Okay, we're going to talk about digestive links to all this in a bit later on. But that's really important because the more prebiotics we have, the more probiotics we have, okay? And that's 80% of your immune system. And that's where you get all of your serotonin. 95% of your serotonin is produced from your gut bacteria. 95%. There's these enterochaffin cells that are lining the digestive system, and they produce 95% of your serotonin. It's not in the brain, it's a little bit, okay? So the gut is another way we're completely attacked, which we'll get with later, and how to sort of rebuild that. Best food as well, purple cabbage is amazing. It's one of the best sources of iodine, the biggest plant source of iodine we know of, okay, which is really hard to get in a non-sea vegetable, okay? Yes?
And those sauerkraut with that kind
exactly.
of
Yes, perfect, yeah. So you can get a double whammy. You can increase your enzymes, your prebiotics, and your probiotics by making sauerkraut. And it's so ridiculously easy. You just take some of that, chop it up again, and put it in a glass container. Push it down, you're gonna add salt to it. Okay, so the salt's gonna suck all the water out of the cabbage. And you're gonna keep pushing it down again and again and again. You can add more to it, add more salt, and you wanna get the water level above the top. And you'll see a massive amount of water. Then you get a nice rock, you clean it, put it on top, and allow it to breathe. So you get a towel, maybe an elastic band, let it sit. Takes like 4 to 7 days. You'll see it bubbling away. If you get a little mold on top, that's fine. What you can do is basically just scrape it off. But if you have it under the water, you're fine. Push it down a little bit. Just make sure it's really, really pushed down. It's a lot of work. It's a nice workout. And you'll probably need like 10 heads. You got to start with a lot because when you get it down, it's like there's one head just squished. You got to go. After 7 days, you can put it in the fridge, and it lasts up to 30 days in there, which is great. Put a tight lid on it after that. And here, like where we are down in the Caribbean, it's the best ever for fermenting. We do kombucha super quick, 4 days sauerkraut. Might be a bit more up here, might be 7 days, 10 days, something like that. But just see if it's bubbling away. You can always try some and see if it's ready. But yeah, sauerkraut's amazing because you're going to start to rebuild that gut. You're going to have a huge source of iodine, which is really needed now. We need minimum of 6 milligrams a day just for thyroid health, and then another 6 for the rest of the body. Males is prostate as well. And that's a lot of prostate cancer, ovarian cancer, breast cancer, thyroid cancer, all iodine deficiency due to excess chlorine and fluoride in the water. It's dumping our iodine, it's creating complete havoc. So getting them out is really important. Gotu kola. There's another herb, sarsaparilla. You guys might know kukulmeca, which is in the smilax family, or sarsaparilla, which is Smilax officinalis. Sarsaparilla is a great herb. It's one of the best blood cleansers out there. I take that every day because it's always going to be cleansing the blood. I can write that one down. Sarsaparilla. So it's a Smilax. Kukulmeca is a similar one. It's in the same family. So they're just blood purifiers. You can take drinks of that every day. Your teas and things you have, pretty much everything we have is medicinal. We drink massive amounts of tea every day. It's cat's claw, it's paw d'arco, sarsaparilla as well. And we just pound that. Cleanses at night, all kinds of crazy stuff. So if you keep this buffer against the outside world, you're completely fine. Like nothing touches you. You don't ever get sick. You're charged all day long. Nothing affects you. You're completely in balance. If you allow it to get out of balance, then it's work to get the balance back, which most people don't want to do. Once you get that balance, you want to retain it because you work so hard to get there. So getting all this stuff out, once it's out, yeah, you feel amazing. The psychicness is unbelievable. Okay, one of the best ways ever to get all this stuff out. Sun gazing, my favorite. There's another guy that had a similar effect. I was reading a story yesterday, and he put magnets on his pineal gland. And he did it every day, and he said, let's see what happens. He wanted to pull everything out. So he put this magnet directly on his pineal gland, which is right here, literally right there. And he started noticing things. He said, all right, 4 days, he saw the corner of his eye, a figure walk past the room. He's like, wow, that's interesting. A week later, he saw the same figure. It wasn't just a figure. He saw a complete outline. He's like, wow, and it wasn't out of the corner of his eye. He walked right through a wall, kept going. He said, whoa, it's interesting. A week later, he kept doing it. He did it for 4 hours a day, so he was pretty hardcore laying down, sitting it on him. And the next day, he saw the guy, comes through, and the guy, he was looking at him like this. The guy turned and looked at him. He's like, wow. I've had the exact same experience on different levels. And then the guy walks through the wall. He's like, wow. He continues to do it. At the 4th week, which freaked him out and he stopped, his whole wall turned into a whole pastoral setting. He saw the man walk through the wall up with his wife, and they were sitting on a park bench. And he's like, and then the lady looked down at him, and so did the guy, and they're like, they were freaked out. They saw him, that he could see them. It was like, wow. So the pineal gland is amazing. So it's our third eye, it's our psychic center, okay? So there's a lot of these ways you'll have all of that. So when I got up to about 25 minutes per day of sun gazing, I was seeing all of that stuff, so much that it freaked me out and I stopped doing it. I was trying to get to 45 minutes. But the things that you'd see were, mind-blowing. Things that are on other dimensions, other worlds, that are completely surprised that you're seeing them, and they're running away as fast as they can. It's like, wow. And after 3 days of seeing that in a row, and spirits walking in front of me and looking at you, and like, wow. So it basically takes your sight and just opens it up massively. It expands it to multi-levels, multi-dimensions, because we're in a hologram. We're seeing just this frequency band. If you start to increase the vibration, you start getting more DMT, you're like in an ayahuasca experience all the time. You're seeing everything, you're hearing things, you're super psychic, you're connected to pretty much everyone in your family, you feel everything. And that's one of the issues I have with clients is if I bring them down for 30 days, I'll go through exactly what they're doing. I literally have cancer, I'll have the same pains. It just wipes me out. I don't know how to disconnect from it. So we start feeling all these things. We get super psychic, super clear, super sensitive to energies, to everything. I can pick something up in the store and know it's been radiated. You just feel it instantly and get rid of it. So being super, super sensitive to things is how we're supposed to be. But when the world is really toxic and hard, it's not that easy. So we have to have a buffer to it. We live way in the jungle on, where no one's around and have spring water and we come out for a little bit and hide back in. So yeah, you get very, very sensitive. So back to sun gazing. Sun gazing has an interesting same effect as doing that magnet therapy. You can Google that a bit. I've never done it. I just read about it and it was pretty interesting. But all of his experience that he was talking about opening that pineal gland had the same sort of effect as sun gazing. So sun gazing basically triples the size of the pineal gland. There's nothing they found from a researcher's perspective that triples the size of it, that actually makes it bigger, okay? So you can actually get your pineal gland really, really big, okay? So if that's the window to the soul, you're getting enormous psychicness, clarity, speed of thought is very, very fast. You're activating your brain as well. So the average person uses about 1 to 2% of their brain. So sun gazing starts to activate your brain up to 35%, which is huge. So your brain literally becomes a complete supercomputer. You don't need to eat much because you're getting all the energy from the full spectrum of light. So you get the 7 frequencies of light that come down. Usually they go into the plants. The plants convert that to chlorophyll. We eat that. Chlorophyll matches our blood, our hemoglobin. It's the exact same. And we ingest that and we change that energy back to all the nutrients that have come basically from the biophotons. This is why raw food has the biophotons in it. So getting that from the plants is amazing. We get super high from it, So we're always cleansing, we're always detoxing as well. So the sun has that exact same effect. So what the pineal gland is, essentially it's a liquid crystal, okay? So it's the only organ in the body that they know is very hypersensitive to light. Okay, so it's our vessel of light. It's our liquid crystal, essentially. So if we see it rains too much, we get really tired, we get fatigued. All that comes from the pineal gland. We get a big flood of melatonin, and we're tired. Our bodies want to go to sleep. So the light-sensitive pineal gland is going to respond to light. Okay, so the sun gazing basically goes into the retina. And 80% of the retina has been designed to actually harness the energy of the sun. There's these melanocytes inside the retina, so we're designed to stare at the sun and get the energy. Guess what? Sometimes there's not food around. We don't need it, So sun gazing is amazing, so it's going to start bringing in these biophotons, these small beams of light, into the eyes, in through the retina. It's going to hit the hypothalamus, it's going to store it there, and then it's going to distribute it as it needs it, okay? So it's also going to really open up that pineal gland because it's like a little plant that hasn't had any water or rain. Sun, and then you give it some light and it gets huge. Watch how quick it grows, Usually it's inside. Same thing with our pineal gland. It's super light sensitive, electromagnetic sensitive as well, so it pulls all those spectrums, that full beam of light in and charges it. So it's basically getting saturated. When we're devoid of that, we see the flickering of the TV, all these other spectrums of light, fluorescent light, F-L-U-R, fluorescent light, is a spectrum of light that also calcifies the pineal gland because that frequency of light is completely different than the sunlight. This is why they want all the mercury containing fluorescent bulbs that are energy efficient. Not really. And in the US they're banning all the regular bulbs. So it's the same kind of thing. Every single where you look, it's like, wow. If you see what's going on, it's no way we're sick and we're completely downtrodden on ourselves and we're jealous and we're angry and we're greedy and we're just, we're not humans anymore, So there's a great study in the 1930s by Dr. Pottinger, who worked with Weston Price later on. And it's an amazing study. It's called the Pottinger's Cat Study. You should read about it online. And it's basically what happens when they give cats, for generations, they did like 6 generations, only cooked food diet. And then they took the other cats and gave them only raw food diet, but the exact same amounts, the exact same types of food, just cooked it and gave it raw. And the differences were unbelievable, like mind-blowing. They had to stop the experiment at the end because it was just a bit crazy. All the cats were like fighting, only in the cooked food group. They went completely nuts. The anger, the aggression, the roar. They changed genders. They became, pretty much all of them became homosexual as well. From all this degeneration of the food and all the nutrients, and they just lost their whole ability to reproduce. everything. So all these things come from taking on these mineral-rich foods that we need to do. The food is designed to basically heal everything. So the more we can get these juices in, these smoothies, all these kinds of things, the more we're going to start to dump all of these things in. So basically what you have is you have these man-made things, and then you have natural. So as we go from that scale, if we have sort of a scale here, where you're completely, let's get a new color. Can you guys see the green or no? Yeah. Cool, I'll go red. Nature. So if we have a man-made scale here and a natural scale here, and we're sort of born here, we can go whoop, and we can stop pretty much anywhere here. But what's going to happen is we're slowly going to end up back here. Okay. So nature is health. Man-made is disease. Okay. So nature has all the encoding, has everything we could possibly need. Whether it's an herb, whether it's a food, whether it's a bark, whether it's pretty much everything. Whether it's the electromagnetic frequencies of the earth as well. Whether it's staring at the sun, which they tell you never to do, which is awesome. Never do it. So just finishing quickly on sun gazing, then we'll get back to that. So if you're going to do it, start 10 seconds in the morning. So you have an hour window, basically. So when the sun's setting, the UV is very, very low. So it's like 0.1. Okay, you get about 0.3 UV from your computer monitor all the time. So it's less than the radiation coming off your computer monitor. So in that window only. So you can start either at night or in the morning. So an hour as soon as it rises. I'm not sure what it is here, 5:16, I don't know what it is. So you have until like 6:16. If you're starting, you want to start like as soon as it pops up. It's really, really weak, It gets stronger pretty much every second as it goes up, but you have that sort of window. So you're going to start 10 seconds, morning or night. Then you go up the next day, 10 seconds. Next day, 10 seconds. Next day, 10 seconds. So you're not just going out, because you will, you can burn your retinas pretty good. So it's like taking a white kid that's never seen the sun and saying the sun is great for you, I'll see you in a couple hours. Not going to work. You got to build up, okay? So it works with your eyes the same kind of way. I can stare at the sun now in the daytime and it's fine, only for a few seconds, maybe 10 seconds, and you get a big charge. But if anyone else did it, you'd burn your retinas. You wouldn't be able to do it essentially. So sun gazing, you just like anything, you got to go slowly into it. Your body has to get used to it. Our bodies have the ability to adapt to any single thing. If you're going to weightlift every day, you'll be like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sometimes. If you're going to run every day, you get better at running. If you're going to start to do math in your head, you're going to get better at doing math. Same kind of thing. Sun gazing is no different. Detoxing is no different. Your body will have this plasticity, this neuroplasticity of the brain to start to adapt to whatever you're going to do. Piano, you get better at it. You get more neural nets that are firing. You get more efficient at these neural pathways to doing it. So sun gazing is the same thing. You get better at doing it. It gets easier to do it. And the effect is amazing. Out of all this stuff, sun gazing is the simplest and most effective way to just completely blow your mind, essentially. Your reality just shifts instantly. The need for food pretty much goes away. You're fully charged all day long. Sickness, illness never happens. Your sleep is like 2 to 3 hours. Because you don't need that much recovery time. We're not poisoning ourselves with all this food, all this pesticides, all this chemicals, all this cooked food residues, stealing the enzymes from our body, and then having to sleep, and then recover. We're just not doing that damage. We're bringing in all this light energy, which is held in the pineal gland, and it's just going to start to open everything up. So we're supposed to be liquid light creatures, so that helps a lot. So getting back to this, so we're trying to get back up to this spectrum. Maybe 30 years ago, we were all born completely pure nature. Not anymore. So all the kids born today are loaded with chemicals, PCBs, everything's passing into the placenta. They tested 13,000 chemicals in placenta and newborns, and they all had massive levels of it. Breast milk's got Roundup, all this stuff. So the stuff is everywhere. We can't avoid it as much as we try. We might be able to avoid most of it, but we're all going to have some in us, okay? So we have to get back to that nature sort of thing. So everything that exists in nature is balancing, okay? So fluoride is man-made. Chlorine is man-made. You can't go and find chlorine. you can't go outside and find a big dose of fluoride. It just doesn't exist. Mercury, you would never find it in the concentration that exists. You certainly wouldn't inject mercury or fall on a rock of mercury and get it in your arm. Just this doesn't happen. So when man starts to say, well, listen, I'm going to tell you how to run your lives. I'm going to tell you what prevents disease. Here it is. I'm going to look after you with the water. When you look at ancient cultures, they used spring water. So all the Aztecs, the Mayans, they used spring water. They got aqueducts and they pumped in spring water in entire Mexico City. Thousands and thousands of people. They all had spring water. They figured out a way to do it. Super activated. We don't need chlorine. I mean, there's plenty of other ways to do it. But so when we start getting to this sort of man-made everything, the man-made food, the man-made pesticides that also calcify the pineal gland, the man-made calcium. No one would go into the ocean and chew on coral. That would never happen. You wouldn't get your mortar and pestle out, grind it up, and eat it. You wouldn't put it in a smoothie. It wouldn't blend. So it just is completely absurd. So the more we go to the natural way, away from the natural way, the more we see disease. So all these things sort of represent that. So we just have to look, from a whole sort of global understanding, saying, well, is it natural? Or has it been heated by humans? Has it been processed? Has it been thermally degenerated? Has it been processed with chemicals? All these kinds of things. So the more we can get pure natural things fresh, the more all of these whole cascade of things is going to start to shift, including the whole pineal gland. So sun gazing is awesome. The herbs are really, really important. The iodine, super important. That's probably the most simplest and effective way. It's taking an iodine supplement to decalcify the pineal gland. That's going to dump everything out. MSM also is a calcium phosphate dissolver. So it's going to dissolve that inorganic calcium, which is a cause of a lot of kidney stones, a lot of calcification, osteoarthritis. Cataracts are all calcification as well. As soon as you just strip that down with MSM, people with cataracts that come so cloudy they can't see, boom, 3 weeks later they're gone. They're like, wow, amazing. All that excess calcification. Your body can only deal with so much. It's just like if I keep giving you stuff in your room, I can't use this, I can't, you take this bag, take this garbage. Like, what are you going to do? Eventually you're sleeping with it in your bed, it's in your bathroom, it's in your shower. So over the years we have to accumulate and store all of these things, which cause a lot of problems. So we have to get back to sort of nature. So barefoot walking is another awesome way to get that electrical potential back to the pineal gland. So the frequency that causes all disease is pretty much everything outside of 7.83 hertz, which is in the brain. Okay, that's the exact frequency. That's the Schumann's resonance of the earth. So when we touch the earth, we instantly reverse mental disease. Okay, we instantly stop obsession, sadness, fear, anxiety, any mental issues. We stop all inflammation in the body. The earth is the biggest donator of free electrons. So it's going to stop any free radical damage happening. So wearing rubber-soled shoes blocks that. It's an insulator. Okay? So anytime we wear rubber-soled shoes, we're not touching the earth. Anytime we cover it with pavement, we're getting a bit of it. It's a semi-sort of conductor of the earth's electrons, but not a very good one. So this is why everyone feels happy and high when they go to the beach. They're getting massive sun, which the pineal gland loves. It lights up a little Christmas tree. And then we're walking barefoot, so we're getting all this amazing electrons. We're stopping inflammation. When you go in the ocean, you're getting a triple whammy of sun, electrolytes, which are all the minerals injected directly into your body while being fully grounded. So we're just like, wow. The amount of charge you feel from being in the ocean on a sunny day is amazing. It's the best thing you can do. It's like the best natural therapy. So anything, again, getting back to nature, that's amazing. That heals everything without having to do anything. You're just in a different setting where the city's the opposite of that. The sounds, all those kinds of things. So getting into natural things is really, really important as well. So the air, so we have air, food, and water. So food is really, really important. Making better food choices. So just saying, well, can I eat something better right now? If you can't, don't worry about it. Once you start to realize what's happening in the world, we start getting freaked out. Like, wow, I need this, I need that. We have to learn to make choices that are based on the best we can do right now. Okay, so we're saying, okay, this is the best I can do. Sure, let's have this. But I wish this was organic and that was okay. Well, tomorrow I'll make a better choice. So making better food choices is really, really important. The air, there's not much we can do about it. Again, we just have to start chelating it. The chemtrails are a big one. Big part of the agenda, shutting us down. all the viruses and things are being thrown at us. There's all aluminum that sticks to the pineal gland as well. Once you have fluoride in there, it starts sucking all these heavy metals, lead, arsenic, aluminum as well. So all these things sort of work hand in hand to shut us down spiritually, so we can't see what's going on. It sounds completely absurd, the reality of what's happening to the average person. They don't see it, and it's so obvious once you see, So getting all that stuff out is good. The air, you can't do much about. Being in nature is amazing. It has the best air quality ever. It purifies the air. They did a study of people just walking in nature for an hour, and the results were like mind-blowing. Their blood pressure dropped 20 points from being in nature. Their T cells, their thymus gland, increased 50%. Their immune boosted 50% just by walking in nature. They had an immediate drop in adrenaline, noradrenaline, an immediate burst in acetylcholine, which is the parasympathetic neurotransmitter. It's the brake. So it stops that. So people in the Caribbean go nuts when all the San Jose people come down, because they're going, run, crashing into things. I'm like, what? These guys are nuts. They don't know how to just chill because they're deficient in nature. That relaxes everything. Being on pavement, rubber-soled shoes, it makes you go nuts. As soon as you touch the earth, you have that 7.83 frequency, which then resets the brain. The brain instantly stops that stress response. If we're always blocking that ability to relax, we never sleep. We don't have DMT, we don't have serotonin, we don't have melatonin. We're depressed, but we feel we can do nothing about it. We're apathetic, who cares? But we don't do anything about it because the pineal gland just put a little bit here and climb back out. So the pineal gland pretty much does everything out there. So we have to get back to the nature. So I think nature is really important. Learning the herbs here is really, really good. Shankapiedra is another one. It's everywhere out here. I see it walking in. I don't know if you guys know that one. It's called Renyoncillo here. Shankapiedra means stonebreaker, obviously. So it's great. It's another calcium phosphate dissolver. So it's going to start dissolving that inorganic calcium, which then sucks in all that fluoride, that chlorine as well.